Hey everybody, this is Christian from Hertz Tribeca Trade Group with your end of day market recap for Tuesday. And first screen that I have up, which I was just looking at this before I set up the video for today, and wow, look at the chance of a March rate hike happening is now 76%. This was just last week in the low 30s. So I had mentioned this weekend and last week it was a little bit uncomfortable that the market wasn't pricing in a rate hike, despite what the various different Fed speakers are saying, as well as Janet Yellen, have not really said that that they are not ruling out a Fed rate hike, and it seems like they want to go in March. And with the expectations around 30% last week, it was to me one of the risks of the market. So I actually like this. I like the fact that the market is now pricing it in so that therefore it won't be a shock. If the market is expecting it, it doesn't become a shock. So that's one of the few good points I will say for today. The market, take a look, we're only down 14 basis points today. I'm still waiting for us to kind of burn off these overbought levels. I've been saying the same things the last couple days here. I think we're due for the yellow line to basically meet the blue line, the 5-period exponential moving average to the 20. It seems like every time we rally, we ebb and we flow. We rally, we pull back, we rally, we pull back, we rally, we pull back, we rally. I think we're just missing this piece here and expecting a little bit more of a pullback than this last pause that we've seen in the last 3 or 4 days. I am kind of like, let's get it over with already and let's fall down a little bit. So when I see this in the market, and I'm looking at NASDAQ now, and you can see on the relative strength index, again, anything over 70 is overbought. We're still there. It did get well over an 80 on the Qs or NASDAQ futures last week. So it's now a 74. It's not quite as overbought as it was, but it's still there. One of the things that was a bit disappointing today, so what I'm trying to get out is we're still need to, I think, burn off some of these overbought levels, and I think that's coming in the next couple days is my guess. And we're starting to see, I wouldn't say a ton of things break down, but I start to look for when you see the major indices not really moving that much. I start to look around and look in different sectors to see if they're providing hints. So before I get to the sectors, small caps kind of a disappointment. Yesterday had a nice day of outperformance in small caps, which were up about 1%. Well, they gave it all back and then some. Pretty heavy down day in small caps. You just didn't see that in SPYs and in Qs, which were down a little bit on the day. But this was a decent sell-off, down 1.5%. We keep hearing that the S&P hasn't had a 1% move down. However, other things are showing this 1% down, hence small caps down 1.5%. So I would say, just as I've been saying in small caps, I remain neutral. We haven't really broken down here. We haven't been able to get past the high here. So it's neutral until we go above 140.32, or neutral until we break the support of 136.53. That is the top of the value area. So start to look around in other sectors to see if anything is providing some telltale signs that a little bit of weakness is coming. Retail has kind of been its own animal lately. There's definite arguments about what's going on, but back below the 200-day moving average, that's the white line in the chart. Some real weakness going on here. If you look within the sector, it wasn't one particular. Target was the one right off the bat for earnings that really imploded a bit today, down 12%. Also, the story out on SIG, Signet Jewelers, down also 13%. But look at all the red. Usually when one big company in a sector has a weak earnings report, it does bring down a lot of names. So you could see a lot of pain going on there. There was also a story out on Game Store. Who was it? One of the game console makers is rolling out their own program. So GME, which has been in a downtrend for a while, down quite a bit. Also, Groupon down a lot today. See that? So these are all the movers inside of retail that had a rough day. So you start to look at some other things that have been pretty strong lately. No major crack here in XLF and financials. We're still kind of right at that 5 period exponential moving average. A little bit of a turn here in XLK technology ETF. You could see that actually sunk a little bit today, down about 50 basis points. Small outperformance, but just haven't seen that lately. We saw this last big green candle, and then a little bit of weakness here. So maybe watch technology for some clues. SMH, also something that I've been watching since NVIDIA got a little bit weak. We started to see AMD try to rally today and then sold off. So keep this one on your radar. There was a bunch of call buying yesterday, just repeat call buying in AMD. But look at that candle yesterday. And I'm going to talk about something when we get closer to the week and Friday. I'm not going to jump ahead, but something showing a little bit of a sign, which I'm going to get to. It's a developing candle, so I'm not going to look at it yet. But keep an eye, see what AMD does tomorrow. There was some more call buying that came in a little bit to the weakness, but pretty much closed on the lows. And then what performed pretty well today? Once again, the utilities. They took a day off yesterday. I actually exited my position like a dummy yesterday, thinking like, I was in a very short dated position. I was in next week's calls, so you really don't want to be in those positions for too long. But took out the highs from Friday, so real nice 1, 2, 3, 4 straight up bars, green bars, and then a little bit of digestion bar and inside day, and then a move back up here in utilities. So really strong. That was, I think, the best performing sector on the day. Let me just look at my list. Gold miners came back a little bit. Like GDXJ was up 1.9%, but considering the day that they had yesterday, that's really not very impressive of a move. They had basically an inside day today. What else? Consumer staples were up a little bit. A couple other charts that I wanted to go over. Some of the unusual option activity. I'm gonna try to do something new and just keep this to maybe 5 signals, depending on the day that we have. Today was certainly quieter. You could see that we didn't have that many option trades to really focus on. There was a couple chunky ones in here. This was yesterday, just to give you a comparison. Just a lot less names to really look at. FCX, big call buyer today. Freeport, this is a name that I've been watching. You have to ask yourself, after this thing has dipped now, would you rather buy it up here or up here, or after the name has had a decent dip? So a nice call buyer comes into FCX, long dated all the way out to January. So for those who are looking for longer dated trades, after some weakness in FCX, Freeport McMoran, these were the January 17 calls. Take a look at the chart. Where was the stock? Where did it make a high? 17 handle. So it's all the way down, made a pretty decent move here in a small amount of time. I did not get into this trade yet. I'm waiting for a little bit of confirmation, so maybe a move back above these candles. And some of these trades that we see on the tape, you don't have to get into every one right at the start. You can kind of keep a notebook, keep a journal, and say, hey, these are names on my watch list, and then think about levels that you're interested in the stock. Again, you don't have to follow exactly whoever's trading this. These are, in my opinion, a lot of these are ideas that you could take. Hey, somebody's putting down, somebody's really buying it. What does that mean for you? It means, hey, someone has a lot of conviction in it, and they're going all the way out to January. So pay attention to the chart. Where does it feel comfortable for you? Where do you care about the name? Not XYZ hedge fund who bought this, who's probably down on the year. And we just heard Warren Buffett talk about how bad the performance is for hedge funds and the amount of fees that people pay over time. So where does this stock interest you? For me, it's going to interest me if it gets back above 1371 and gets back above this yellow line. So I'll wait. I don't need to be in this trade. It's not like this trade's going to expire in March. They went all the way out to January. So it's a name I've got level set, and it's a name that I want to watch. So no position yet. On the other hand, I did take a position in Deere today, which actually didn't hold the gains today. This was a name that we've seen a lot of call buying over the last couple months. It's a name that I like. Really nice uptrend that this has been in. So this one, the trend is your friend. So I did establish a position. Maybe if we get a little bit of weakness in the market, I'll probably add to it. Also, very long dated trade, September 15 calls, and a nice chunky position. When you look at the notional that was spent on this, or the premium, was $2 million. So nice big trade there. A couple other trades. One I actually did not have highlighted here is Teradyne. This was a trade that I was in a couple weeks ago. I took it off for a scratch. I want to see if the open interest goes up tomorrow. So big sweep in this one, and it looks like somebody's buying this. There was somebody who started this position July 31 calls about two to 3 weeks ago, and it looks like they're buying it a little bit cheaper than they originally got in here. I think those calls were bought somewhere in here. And so it is down a little bit. Again, I did not take this position, but this will be on my watch list for the next couple days at least. We talked about FCX. We talked about Deer. Yandex. This is the Russian internet play. Russia has been quietly been breaking down here. Russia has been in a really nice uptrend. And notice it's been selling off pretty hard here. So I would care about this name if we get back to the 200-day moving average. I don't really see any other support on the RSX chart. Maybe 1937, there we go, is your support on the weekly chart. But Yandex it is a Russian name, but it's a Chinese name. Weekly chart looks like it jumped into value, and on the daily chart, just like RSX, it's been weak. But if it happens to turn around here on the top of value, I would be interested in that Yandex trade as well to the long side. These were the May calls, so you got a couple months for those. Put side, we saw big SIG puts being swept this morning. I already mentioned this name, down 12% on the day. Big home run if you went short or if you took this trade to the downside. Just huge capitulation day for this name. A bunch of things came out about this company. On the ETF side, I thought it was interesting. USO is the ETF that tries to track WTI crude. It does not do a good job at it, but I look at these trades. I don't normally take these trades. I just kind of look at them to see what is going on and what the sentiment is. And if you look at the oil price, if you look at the USO price, and this kind of is a little bit troublesome. Let me make sure I've got the right chart in here. I want the 10-year chart. So we've been in this sideways, who knows which way we're going to go. Are we going to break up? Are we going to break down? Every time we can't seem to hold an early bid in oil. Look at where that's shooting for. There's a purple line down here again. That's a virgin point of control. It's a point of control from another value area where the price action has never been touched. These often act as magnets. So if this does start to break, look for a move down to 1019 in USO. You can look at the same thing in crude. There's also one that sits down there, same type of thing. You also have one of those purple lines down here at 48. So again, I don't know which way crude is going to go, if it's going to go up or if it's going to go down. I'm waiting for a firm break. Also watch that 200-day moving average to the downside. I would not be against shorting oil if that happens. Right now, it's too early to tell. It's moving sideways. Don't know. 55 basically is that level on the top, or maybe a little bit under that. That's going to be resistance for the next month, and then 53.12 is going to be right around there for the March bottom of value. So interesting that someone who's positioning themselves for some weakness to come in oil, but keep those levels. Those are the two levels that you want to watch because you really can't tell. Eventually, it's going to break one way. We just don't know which way it's going to do it, but it looks like somebody's positioning for some downside. So that's the end of today's recap. Thank you for watching. We've got the State of the Union addressed. Just keep in mind, people are probably going to hang on every word tonight, but I don't think the market, end all. You got to remember where we were back for the inauguration. When everybody says to do one thing, usually you want to do the other. Back on the election day, the inauguration, this is where the S&P was when everybody said buy the election and sell. The trade is to sell at the inauguration. If you did that, you would be very unhappy right now. So take that with a little bit of a grain of salt. So thank you for watching tonight's video, and I'll see you guys tomorrow in the trading room. Thank you.